You ever feel like you're flying blind with a critical process? One day everything's perfect and the next it's a total mess. Well, today we're going to dive into a really powerful framework from Mohammed Ajloni that breaks it all down into four simple, clear scenarios. By the end of this, you'll know exactly where you stand and what your very next move should be. So let's get right into it. Right. So to build on what we've talked about before, we know that a stable process has potential. But look, potential isn't enough, is it? We've got to move from just measuring things to actually diagnosing the real problem and taking the right action. And that is exactly what we are going to do today. So here's our game plan. First, we're going to build a really simple but powerful matrix. Then we'll walk through the two predictable scenarios, the good and the frustrating. After that, we'll dive into the two unpredictable and frankly more dangerous scenarios. And finally, we'll tie it all together with a clear path forward. Believe it or not, this whole thing really comes down to just two simple questions. And these two questions create a powerful matrix that lets us diagnose pretty much any process situation you can think of. And here they are. First, is your process predictable? Is it stable or is it just all over the place? That's the how. And second, is the product any good? Does it actually meet customer specs? That's the what. Literally, every single process problem you will ever face is just some combination of yes or no to these two questions. Okay, let's start on the good side of the matrix. When your process is predictable, this means you've got a stable foundation to work with. But as we're about to see, that doesn't always mean you're getting perfect results. First up, we've got the ideal state. Process excellence. This is the promised land, right? This is where everything just works. So, what does this look like? Well, it means your process is totally stable, no nasty surprises popping up, and the product coming out the other end is perfect. It's predictable and it's high quality. This is what we call total control. So, what do you do here? Just put your feet up and relax? Haha. Not quite. Your job now is to protect this state. You have to keep monitoring everything, stay vigilant, and make sure absolutely nothing comes along to disrupt this beautiful, smooth-running machine. Okay, now for a much more confusing scenario. Your process is stable, it's predictable, and yet you're still producing bad parts. Now, this can be incredibly frustrating, but our framework makes it really easy to figure out what's going on. This is the million-dollar question, isn't it? It feels like a contradiction. How on earth can a good, stable process make a bad product? Well, turns out there are two very distinct reasons this can happen, and each one has a completely different solution. Okay, the first cause is what we call a spread problem. Your process is stable, yeah, but its natural variation is just too wide for the specs. Think of it like trying to park a giant truck in a tiny garage. Even if you're a perfect driver, you're going to get some scrapes. The solution? Well, you either get a smaller truck, which means reducing your process variation, or you widen the garage, which means relaxing the specs, but only if your customer agrees. Now, the second possibility is a centering problem. In this case, the truck fits in the garage just fine, but you're not aiming for the middle. The process is simply off-center. And thankfully, the fix for this one is way easier. You just have to adjust your aim and recenter the process right on the target. All right, let's cross over to the other side of the matrix. We are now dealing with unpredictable, unstable processes. And this is where things get a lot more dangerous, and the actions we need to take become much, much more urgent. This next scenario, this is maybe the most deceptive and risky one of them all. See, on the surface, everything looks great. You're getting 100% good product. But underneath, the process itself is a ticking time bomb. Here's exactly why this is so dangerous. The process is unstable. That means some external factors, what we call assignable causes, are knocking it all over the place. You're getting good products right now by pure dumb luck. This process isn't reliable, and believe me, it is guaranteed to start producing junk if you ignore it. So the crucial point here is that your immediate action has nothing to do with the product, which seems fine for now. Your entire focus has to be on the process. You have to go on a hunt, find those assignable causes, get rid of them, and bring that process back into a stable, predictable state. And that brings us to our fourth and final scenario, the state of chaos. This is where the process is completely out of control and the product is failing. It is the worst of both worlds. People rightly call this double trouble. It's a double whammy. Not only is your process unstable and unpredictable, but it's also actively pumping out non-conforming parts. This is a firefighting situation, and it requires a really clear, methodical approach to get back in control. And here is that structured approach. Now, pay close attention to the order. Step 1 is always to stabilize the process. You cannot fix product quality if the underlying process is chaotic. It's just not possible. Only after you've achieved stability can you then move to step 2 and figure out if you have a centering problem or a spread problem, just like we talked about back in scenario 2. Okay, we've gone through all 4 scenarios, from the absolute ideal all the way to total chaos. So now, let's bring it all together into one simple, powerful roadmap that shows us the path to improvement. And here it is, the entire framework on one slide. Down the left, you've got the 4 scenarios we just discussed. Across the top, you can see their predictability and conformance, and most importantly, the exact action you need to take for each one. Think of this as your diagnostic map. Find your current situation on this grid and you'll know exactly what to do next, whether you're in that ideal state or you're fighting fires. If you take only one thing away from our time together today, please let it be this. This right here is the golden rule of process control. You must achieve stability before you can even think about working on capability. Trying to improve an unstable process, it's like trying to paint a moving car. You're just going to make a bigger mess. So I'll leave you with this question to take back to your own work. Think about your most critical process and just ask yourself, honestly, which of these 4 scenarios are you in right now? Because once you know the answer to that, you'll know exactly where to begin. Thanks for joining me.